Welcome back to another dark dive into the Commonwealth's deepest secrets. Today, we are examining something that should terrify anyone who has ever trusted the Minutemen. We are going to explore the theory that Preston Garvey, the last hero of Quincy, the man who rebuilt the Minutemen from ashes, is not human at all. This video covers the evidence suggesting Preston is an Institute synth, planted to control settlements and turn the Minutemen into an intelligence network for the very organization they claim to oppose. The Quincy Massacre killed hundreds. It destroyed the Minutemen. It left only one leader standing. But what if that leader was designed to survive? What if his endless settlement quests are not dedication but programming? What if the hero we trusted is the threat we should have feared? Today we follow a researcher who asked these questions, who found evidence at Quincy, and who paid the ultimate price for uncovering a truth too dangerous to survive. And if you genuinely enjoy this kind of dark storytelling, consider subscribing and liking the channel, but only if it truly resonates with you. Let's dive into the confession of someone who saw through Preston Garvey's mask and discovered something that should make every Minutemen general question who they really serve. Need you to understand something before this recording cuts out, before the batteries die, or before someone finds me. I have been watching Preston Garvey for months now, and I am certain of one thing. The man standing in Sanctuary Hills, handing out settlement missions like clockwork, is not human. He cannot be. And if I am right about what he is, then everything we think we know about the Minutemen, about Quincy, about who survived and why, it all falls apart. My name does not matter anymore. What matters is what I found, what I pieced together while everyone else was too busy rebuilding, too busy fighting raiders and super mutants, too busy trusting the one man who should never have been trusted. Let me start at the beginning. Let me tell you about Preston Garvey. You probably know the story already. Everyone in the Commonwealth does. Preston Garvey, last of the Minutemen, sole survivor of the Quincy Massacre. The good guy, the hero who never stops helping people, who never stops caring, who somehow made it out alive when everyone else burned. That story sounds noble, does it not? It sounds like something worth believing in. I believed it too, for a while. But here is what nobody talks about. Here is what nobody wants to examine too closely. Preston Garvey survived Quincy when Colonel Hollis did not, when dozens of trained Minutemen fighters did not, when most of the civilians did not. The gunners tore through that city like a death claw through sheet metal. They had the high ground. They had numbers. They had Clint, a 10-year Minuteman veteran who knew every defensive position, every weakness in those walls. The massacre lasted 1 hour, one single hour, and Quincy fell. 20 people escaped, 20 out of hundreds, and Preston Garvey led them out. Through gunner territory, through the ruins, through Jamaica Plain where more died, through Lexington where the ferals cut them down to 8, and finally to Concord where raiders pinned them in a museum. By the time the sole survivor found them, only 5 remained. 5 people, and Preston Garvey standing on that balcony with his laser musket, still fighting, still giving orders, still somehow functioning. Do you know what trauma does to a person? Do you know what watching your friends die does to your mind? Preston talks about it sometimes if you get him to open up. He talks about the guilt, about wanting to die, about barely holding on. He says the only reason he kept going was because people needed him. But here is what struck me as wrong. Here is what kept me awake at night, staring at my ceiling in Diamond City, replaying every conversation I ever had with him. Preston Garvey never breaks. He bends. He talks about his pain. He expresses guilt and doubt in carefully measured words. But he never actually stops. He never actually fails. Even when he tells you he wanted to give up, he never did. Even when he describes hitting rock bottom, he was still standing on that balcony, still planning, still leading. A human being who goes through what Preston claims to have gone through either shuts down completely or makes mistakes. Big ones, fatal ones. Preston made none. He handed command to the sole survivor immediately. He called them general after one successful mission. Some people thought that was humility or trauma. But think about it differently. Think about it as programming. Think about it as a synth who knows his mission is to rebuild the Minutemen, but lacks the authority subroutines to lead them himself. So he finds someone he can direct, someone he can control through an endless series of missions that always need doing. Another settlement needs your help. How many times have you heard that phrase? How many times has Preston marked a location on your map? 10 times? 50? 100? The settlements never stop needing help. The quests never end. Preston Garvey has an encyclopedic knowledge of every settlement in the Commonwealth, every threat they face, every resource they need. He knows which settlements are under attack before Radio Freedom broadcasts it. He knows settlement coordinates without checking terminals. He knows building techniques that should have been lost with the old Minutemen. I started documenting it, every quest he gave, every piece of knowledge he demonstrated. Preston Garvey can tell you how to build water purifiers, establish supply lines, construct recruitment beacons, and organize defense grids with the expertise of an engineer. Not a soldier, an engineer. He is a Minuteman grunt who joined at 17 with no special training, but he somehow has technical knowledge that rivals anyone in the Commonwealth, except Sturgis. Let us talk about Sturgis for a moment. Sturgis, the handyman from Quincy who can crack museum security systems, repair pre-war power armor, and build a molecular relay from scratch. Sturgis, who was with Preston from the beginning. Sturgis, who has a synth component in his inventory if you kill him with console commands, even though the game never tells you, even though his status as a synthetic is never mentioned in any dialogue. Sturgis is a synth, that is confirmed, a Generation 3 synth, indistinguishable from human, walking around Sanctuary Hills with wiped memories and a friendly smile. And he was at Quincy. He was there when it fell. He was one of the 20 who escaped with Preston Garvey. What do you think really happened here? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I would like to know if I am the only one who feels this way. The Institute replaces people. That is what they do. They abduct someone, they build a perfect copy, they program it with memories and personality, and they send it back out to infiltrate, to observe, to control. Mayor McDonough of Diamond City, a synth. Paladin Dance of the Brotherhood of Steel, a synth. Roger Warwick, the farmer, a synth. The Institute has agents everywhere, and nobody knows until it is too late. Now imagine you are the Institute. You want to control the Commonwealth settlements. You want to monitor reconstruction efforts, maybe even guide them in certain directions. You want a network of informants, and a way to keep the surface population manageable, traceable, compliant. What would you do? You would infiltrate the one organization dedicated to protecting settlements. You would place your synth inside the Minutemen, but the Minutemen were dying already, fractured and failing, so you need a catalyst. You need an event that wipes out the old leadership and allows your agent to rebuild the organization from scratch. You need Quincy. Think about the timing. The gunners attack Quincy with inside information from Clint. The Minutemen call for help and nobody comes except Colonel Hollis and Preston Garvey. The battle is short, brutal, total. Hollis dies. Almost everyone dies, but Preston lives. And Preston has Sturgis with him, the synth engineer who will later prove invaluable in rebuilding. They lead the survivors out, and even though gunners chase them, even though ferals attack them, even though they lose people at every stop, Preston and Sturgis make it to Concord, where they wait, where they hold out just long enough for the sole survivor to find them, the sole survivor. The one person in the Commonwealth with pre-war knowledge, military training, and a personal vendetta against the Institute. The perfect tool to rebuild the Minutemen into something powerful, something useful, and Preston hands them command immediately. Does that sound like coincidence? Does that sound like luck? I watched Preston for 3 months before I started believing this theory. I watched him pace the same routes through Sanctuary. I watched him stand in the same spots. I watched him give the same speeches about hope and rebuilding. He never eats. Oh, he stands near food sometimes, and maybe you will see him hold a tato or drink from a bottle. But I never saw him actually consume anything. Not once, not in 3 months. He never sleeps either. He has a bed assigned in Sanctuary, and sometimes he goes through the motion of lying down, but his eyes stay open. I tested this. I stayed awake for 36 hours once watching his house. Preston laid down twice, both times for exactly 14 minutes. Both times staring at the ceiling. Then he got up and resumed his patrol route. Synths do not need to eat. They do not need to sleep. They can simulate these behaviors when observed, but they do not require them. Generation 3 synths are biological. Yes, they bleed. They can be injured, but their bodies are optimized, efficient, running on systems we do not fully understand. And Preston Garvey never eats, never sleeps, never stops. His pattern is always the same. He stands near the workbench. He walks to the bridge. He returns to the workbench. If you approach him, he has dialogue ready. Settlement reports, Minutemen philosophy, quests, always quests. His face shows appropriate emotions at appropriate times. Concern, hope, determination. But it is like watching an actor who learned the role too well. The beats are perfect. Too perfect. I started asking him questions, personal ones, background details. He would answer, but the answers felt scripted. He joined the Minutemen at 17. He served under Colonel Hollis. He believed in protecting people. All true, all documented, all exactly what a synth programmed with Preston Garvey's identity would know. But when I asked him about childhood memories, about his family, about anything before the Minutemen, he would deflect. He would say it does not matter anymore. He would say the past is gone and only the future counts. Maybe that is trauma. Maybe that is a man who lost everything and cannot bear to remember. Or maybe it is a synth who was never given those memories because they were not relevant to the mission. I talked to Mama Murphy about it. Before the chems took her, before she faded too far into the sight to make sense anymore, I asked her about Preston, asked her what she saw in him. She got quiet. That horrible knowing quiet she does when she sees something she cannot explain. Then she said, "That boy's energy is wrong. Blue where it should be red, cold where it should be warm. But he helps people, so I do not question it. Blue energy, cold energy. What does that mean?" What did she see when she looked at Preston Garvey with her chem-addled psychic sight? Sturgis knows something too. I am certain of it. Whether he knows he is a synth or whether his memories were wiped by the railroad. He was there at Quincy. He was there during the massacre. And when I tried to ask him about it, about what really happened, about how Preston survived, Sturgis smiled that easy smile and said, "Preston's tougher than he looks. Man's got a will like steel." Then he changed the subject. A will like steel, or programming like steel. Instructions that cannot be overridden. Directives that repeat endlessly. Protect settlements. Rebuild the Minutemen. Report back to the Institute. Maybe Preston does not even know. Maybe he thinks he is human. Maybe his programming is so deep, so complete, that the idea he might be synthetic never occurs to him. That would be elegant, would it not? A sleeper agent who does not know he is sleeping. Or maybe he knows. Maybe on some level, in some buried subroutine, Preston Garvey is aware of what he is. And maybe that is why he never stops working. Because if he stops, if he ever lets himself sit down and think and feel and be, he might start to question. He might start to remember things that do not add up. He might start to malfunction. The Institute calls it the Synth Retention Bureau, SRB. Their courses hunt down escaped synths and bring them back for reprogramming. But what if some synths never escape? What if some synths are so well designed, so perfectly embedded, that they never need to be retrieved? What if Preston Garvey is the Institute's greatest success? A synth who has been operating in the Commonwealth for months, maybe years, and nobody ever suspected, except me. I suspect. And the more I look, the more evidence I find. Preston's immediate trust of the sole survivor is not normal. You pull him out of Concord and he makes you general. No trial period, no trust building, no hesitation. He hands you command of the Minutemen based on one successful mission. Either he is the worst judge of character in the Commonwealth, or he was programmed to do exactly that. To find the right person and put them in charge. To create a Minutemen organization that serves the Institute's interests without ever realizing it. Think about what the Minutemen actually do under Preston's guidance. They expand settlement networks. They establish supply lines. They map out every inhabited location in the Commonwealth. They bring people together in centralized, monitored locations. They create infrastructure that could very easily be co-opted by the Institute once the time is right. And Preston coordinates all of it. Every settlement you help becomes part of the network. Every beacon you build broadcasts location data. Every supply line you establish creates a map of Commonwealth logistics. And Preston knows all of it. Tracks all of it. Reports on all of it. To who though? To who does Preston Garvey report? I tried to follow him once. Waited until night. Stayed far back. Used every stealth trick I knew. Preston walked his usual patrol for an hour. Then he stopped at the bridge. Stood there perfectly still, facing south. Facing the direction of the glowing sea. Facing the direction where, somewhere far below the radioactive wasteland, the Institute waits in its underground facility. He stood there for 11 minutes. Did not move. Did not shift. Just stood and stared like a machine receiving instructions. Then he walked back to the workbench and resumed his normal routine. What was that? What did I just witness? A man lost in thought, or a synth checking in with its handlers? I am running out of time. I can feel it. I have been asking too many questions, watching too closely, documenting too much. Yesterday, Preston looked directly at me and smiled. That same helpful, hopeful smile he always has. But his eyes were different. There was something behind them. Something cold. Something that said, "I know what you are doing. Maybe I am paranoid. Maybe months in the Commonwealth have broken something in my brain. Maybe I am seeing patterns that do not exist. connecting dots that should stay separate. But I cannot shake the feeling that I am right. That Preston Garvey died at Quincy along with Colonel Hollis and everyone else. And what walked out of that city, what led those survivors to safety, what rebuilt the Minutemen from ashes, is something else. Something programmed, something perfect, something that will keep giving settlement quests forever because that is what it was designed to do. I need to know if I am right. I need to know what really happened at Quincy. So I am going there. Tomorrow. I am going to the ruins, to the place where it all started. And I am going to find the truth. Preston warned me not to. Said the gunners still hold that territory. Said it is too dangerous. Said I should focus on helping settlements instead. But I am going anyway. If I am wrong, I will come back and destroy this recording. I will apologize for wasting your time. But if I am right, if I find evidence that Preston Garvey is not what he claims to be, then everything changes. The Minutemen cannot be trusted. The settlements are compromised. And the Institute has been one step ahead of us this entire time. I am recording this from inside Quincy, or what is left of it. The gunners are still here, exactly like Preston said. But I made it past their perimeter, found a spot in what used to be a church, and I need to get this down before anything else happens. Before I lose my nerve or my mind or my life, I found something. God help me, I found something. The journey here took 2 days. I left Sanctuary before dawn, told nobody where I was going, packed light, just weapons, ammunition, water, and this recorder. Preston was standing at his usual spot by the workbench when I slipped out. He did not turn to look at me, but I swear I felt his awareness. Like a security camera tracking movement. Like he knew exactly what I was doing, even with his back turned. The Commonwealth looks different when you are alone. When you do not have a companion watching your back, every sound becomes a threat. Every shadow could hide something that wants you dead. I moved carefully, avoiding the main roads, sticking to the ruins where raiders and super mutants had not yet claimed territory. It gave me time to think, time to question whether I was making a terrible mistake. What if I am wrong? What if Preston is just a traumatized man trying to do good in a world that has given him nothing but pain? What if my paranoia has turned an ally into a monster in my mind? But then I would remember the way he never sleeps, never eats, never deviates from his programmed behavior, and I would keep walking. I reached the outskirts of Quincy at sunset on the second day. The city rises out of the wasteland like a broken tooth, all shattered buildings and rusted metal. The highway overpass that the gunners used to attack from above still stands, a monument to tactical genius and human cruelty. I could see their sentries moving on the upper levels, could hear their radio chatter echoing across the ruins. The gunners are not raiders. They are professionals, mercenaries who fight with discipline and strategy. Getting past them should have been impossible for someone like me, but I am motivated by something they cannot understand. I am motivated by the need to know, by the suspicion that has been eating at me for months. So I waited until full dark, used every stealth boy I had, and I slipped into the city like a ghost. Quincy is a graveyard. That is the only way to describe it. Every street, every building, every corner holds the evidence of what happened here. Skeletons still lay where they fell, some in Minutemen uniforms, some in civilian clothes. The gunners have not bothered to clear them away. Why would they? The dead are excellent deterrents. They remind everyone who comes here what happens when you resist. I found Colonel Hollis first, or what is left of him. He fell near the church, surrounded by gunner bodies. He must have sold his life dearly. The combat armor he wore is still there, rusted and broken, but the Minutemen insignia is still visible. This was the man Preston served under, the man Preston called a hero, the man who supposedly taught him everything about being a Minuteman. And he died here while Preston lived. I searched his body. Felt wrong doing it, like disturbing a grave, but I needed to understand. His personal effects were mostly gone, looted by gunners or scattered by time. But I found his holotag, found a journal, water-damaged and barely readable, tucked inside his armor. And in that journal, in the last few entries written before the battle, I found something that made my blood run cold. Hollis did not trust Preston. The entries are fragmentary, the handwriting hurried, but the message is clear. Hollis noticed something wrong about Preston during the defense of Quincy. He wrote, "Garvey knows things he should not know. Settlement locations we never scouted. Defensive strategies I never taught him. He suggested fortifications that require engineering knowledge no grunt should possess. When I questioned him, he deflected, said he learned it from another company. But I checked. No such company exists." Another entry, dated 2 days before the massacre. Garvey suggested we open the eastern gate to allow reinforcements through. I refused. That gate faces gunner territory. Opening it would be suicide, he insisted. Said he had intelligence about Minutemen approaching from that direction. I told him to show me proof. He could not. For the first time since I met him, I saw something in his eyes that was not quite right. Like he was calculating, like he was adjusting to my refusal. The final entry, written the night before the attack. I do not know what Garvey is, but I know what he is not. He is not the man he pretends to be. If I survive this battle, I will report my suspicions to any remaining Minutemen leadership. If I do not survive, if this journal is found, let the record show that something is wrong with Preston Garvey. Something I cannot explain. May God help whoever follows him next. Hollis knew. He did not know about synths, probably did not even consider that possibility, but he knew Preston was not right. And then he died, and Preston became the last authority on what happened at Quincy. The only witness who could shape the narrative, the only one who could control the story. I sat in that church for an hour, holding that journal, feeling reality shift around me. This was not paranoia. This was not conspiracy theory madness. This was a dying man's testimony. A military officer recording his concerns about a subordinate who frightened him. And nobody ever saw it because nobody came back to Quincy to look, except me. I pushed deeper into the city, following the route Preston claimed to have taken during the escape. The gunners were thicker here, so I moved slowly, carefully, using rubble for cover. I was looking for something specific now. If Preston is a synth, if he was placed here by the Institute, there should be evidence. Institute operations leave traces, synth components, terminal logs, something. I found Sturges's workshop, the church where he worked before the massacre. The gunners use it as an armory now, but I managed to slip inside through a collapsed wall. Sturges's terminal is still there, still functional, running on some backup power source. The gunners either do not know how to access it or do not care. I accessed it. The terminal entries are mostly mundane. Repair logs, supply requests, conversations with Mayor Jackson about fortifications. But there are gaps, long gaps where no entries were made, and then buried in the deleted files section, something I was able to partially recover. A message, addressed to no one, or addressed to someone who would know to look for it. The asset is in place. Hollis is becoming suspicious. Recommend accelerating the timeline. The event must occur before exposure risk increases. Confirm receipt, the asset, the event, Institute language, Institute phrasing, and this was on Sturges's terminal. Sturges, the confirmed synth, Sturges, who was with Preston from the beginning. Sturges, who probably does not even remember writing this message because his memories were wiped after Quincy fell. If you have ever wondered what choice you would make in a situation like this, tell me in the comments. I will be reading them. I sat in that workshop, staring at the terminal screen, and I felt the last pieces fall into place. The Institute planned Quincy. They needed the Minutemen destroyed so they could rebuild the organization with their own agents in control. They placed Sturges in Quincy as an engineer, someone useful, someone trusted. They placed Preston in the Minutemen as a soldier, someone who could survive, someone who could lead. They fed information to Clint about Minutemen weaknesses. They ensured Hollis and his company would be the only ones to respond. They orchestrated a massacre, and when it was over, when the old Minutemen were dead and buried under Quincy's ruins, Preston and Sturgis walked away. They led survivors to establish legitimacy. They waited in Concord for the right person to rebuild the faction. They found the sole survivor, and they put that person in charge of a Minutemen organization designed from the ground up to serve Institute interests. It is brilliant. It is horrifying, and it is working perfectly. I need more proof. I need something undeniable. So I went looking for the one place Preston specifically mentioned in his stories about Quincy, the house where the Minutemen made their final stand, where Hollis died, where Preston claims to have barely escaped with his life. I found it. The gunners use it as a command post now. Getting inside was nearly impossible, but I managed. Crawled through maintenance tunnels, slipped past sentries, and emerged in what used to be the Minutemen's barracks. The room is exactly as Preston described it. Overturned furniture, bullet holes in the walls, bloodstains on the floor. But there is something else. Something Preston never mentioned. Scratched into the wall, hidden behind a fallen cabinet, I found writing. Hurried, desperate. Written by someone who knew they were about to die. Preston opened the door. "Let them in, traitor, synth, run!" Preston opened the door. He let the gunners in. He betrayed the Minutemen from inside, and someone saw it. Someone tried to warn whoever found this place, but the gunners killed them, and the message stayed hidden. and Preston's version of events became the official history. I am shaking as I record this. My hands are not steady, because this is not theory anymore. This is not speculation. This is evidence. Preston Garvey is a synth. He was placed in the Minutemen by the Institute. He sabotaged the defense of Quincy. He led the survivors away to establish his cover story. He rebuilt the Minutemen as an Institute intelligence network. And nobody knows except me, and probably the Institute. They probably know I am here. They probably know what I found. Which means I need to get this recording out. I need to get it somewhere safe, somewhere Preston cannot reach it. I am leaving Quincy tonight. I will move fast, move quiet, and I will not stop until I reach Diamond City. I know someone there who can hide this recording, who can broadcast it if something happens to me, because I think something is about to happen to me. I think Preston will know I went to Quincy. I think he will know what I found, and I think he will have to do something about it. Synths can kill. Institute synths are excellent at it, and if Preston is programmed to protect his cover, to maintain the Minutemen operation, then I am a threat that needs to be eliminated. But I am not going quietly. I am not disappearing without making sure someone knows the truth. So I am recording this. I am documenting everything. And I'm going to make sure that even if Preston Garvey succeeds in silencing me, his secret gets out. The Minutemen are compromised. Every settlement you help, every supply line you establish, every beacon you build, it all feeds information back to the Institute through Preston. He is the perfect spy, the perfect infiltrator, because nobody suspects him. Nobody questions the last hero of Quincy. Nobody examines his story too closely because we all want to believe in heroes. But heroes do not survive massacres that kill everyone else. Heroes do not have encyclopedic knowledge they should not possess. Heroes do not stand perfectly still at night, staring south toward the glowing sea, receiving instructions from masters they claim to oppose. Heroes eat. Heroes sleep. Heroes are human. Preston Garvey is not human, and I can prove it now. I am leaving the evidence here, hidden in this church, in case I do not make it. If someone finds this recording and wants the full documentation, look in Quincy. Look in the church in the southeast section. Behind the altar, under the loose floorboards, I am leaving Hollis's journal, the terminal data from Sturges's workshop, and photographs of the wall writing. It is all there, all the proof anyone should need. I am moving now. The gunners are changing shifts, and I have a narrow window to slip out. If this is my last recording, if Preston catches up to me before I reach safety, then I hope someone hears this. I hope someone investigates. I hope someone stops trusting the man who hands out settlement missions like candy and never, ever asks for anything in return except your obedience, because that is what Preston wants. Not your friendship, not your trust, your obedience, your compliance, your willingness to do exactly what he tells you to do without question. Another settlement needs your help.
Go here! Kill these raiders!
Rescue this settler. Build this beacon. Never stop. Never question. Never realize that you are being used. The Minutemen died at Quincy. What stands in Sanctuary Hills wearing their uniform is something else, something that serves different masters. And until we acknowledge that, until we face the truth about Preston Garvey, the Institute will continue to control the Commonwealth through the very organization meant to protect it. I am signing off now. Next recording will be from Diamond City if I make it. If you do not hear from me again, you know what happened, and you know who is responsible. Stay alert, trust no one, and for God's sake, stop doing those settlement quests. Every one you complete makes the Institute stronger. If this story has kept you listening this far, and you want more of these dark confessions from the wasteland, hit that subscribe button. It tells me someone out there is still paying attention to warnings like these. This is my final recording. I'm in Diamond City, or I was in Diamond City. I am not sure anymore where is safe. I am not sure anywhere is safe when the Institute can walk through walls, and the man hunting me never stops. Preston knows. I made it out of Quincy, moved through the ruins like a shadow, past gunner patrols, past their searchlights, past their kill zones. My stealth training held. The evidence stayed hidden on my body. I thought I had won. I thought I had escaped with the truth intact. I should have known better. The Commonwealth between Quincy and Diamond City is roughly 30 miles. 30 miles of wasteland, raiders, super mutants, and feral ghouls. I moved carefully, stopped only when necessary, kept the evidence close, and the entire time I felt watched. Not by raiders or mutants, by something else, something that knew exactly where I was going. I reached Diamond City at dawn on the third day. The gates were just opening. I stumbled through. exhausted, paranoid, clutching my recorder like a lifeline. I went straight to my contact, someone who works with the newspaper, someone who could get this information out. I handed over the evidence, told them everything. They looked at me like I was insane at first, but then they examined the journal, read the terminal logs, saw the photographs, and their expression changed. They believed me. We agreed to meet again in 6 hours. They needed time to verify what they could, to prepare copies, to establish distribution channels. I went to the market, tried to blend in, tried to act normal, bought some supplies, ate something for the first time in days because my body was starting to fail from stress and exhaustion, and that is when I saw him. Preston Garvey was standing at the entrance to Diamond City. He should not have been there. Sanctuary is hours away. There was no reason for him to be in Diamond City at that exact moment, unless he followed me, unless he tracked me, unless he knew exactly what I was doing and came to stop it. Our eyes met across the market. He smiled, that same helpful, concerned smile he always uses, and he started walking toward me. I ran, shoved through the crowd, knocked over a trader's stall, sprinted for the back alleys of the city. I could hear him behind me, not running, walking, that same steady, measured pace he always uses, like he knew he did not need to hurry, like he knew exactly where I would go, like he had all the time in the world because synths do not get tired. I lost him in the alleys, or I thought I did. Found an abandoned building, barricaded the door, and tried to think. I needed to get this recording out, needed to broadcast it somehow, but Preston was in the city. Preston was hunting me, and I realized with growing horror that I might not survive long enough to expose him. That is when my contact died. I did not see it happen, did not hear the gunshot, but word spread through Diamond City fast. Found dead in their apartment, single shot to the head. Suicide, the guards said. But I knew better. I knew the Institute. I knew what happens to people who learn too much. And I knew Preston had just eliminated the one person who could verify my evidence. The evidence itself was gone. Searched from the body before the guards arrived. Hollis's journal, the terminal logs, the photographs, all of it disappeared. All that remained was this recorder, this testimony. The only proof left that any of this happened. I am trapped in Diamond City now. Cannot leave without Preston seeing me. Cannot go to the guards because what would I tell them? That Preston Garvey, hero of the Commonwealth, is a synth assassin. They would lock me up, call me crazy, hand me over to Preston himself for safekeeping. The perfect trap, the perfect cover, so I am hiding, recording this, hoping someone finds it before Preston finds me, because he will find me. Synths are patient, synths are thorough, and Preston has been playing this role for so long that he knows every move I might make before I make it. I have been thinking about Quincy, about what really happened there. I think I understand now. The Institute did not just want to destroy the Minutemen, they wanted to rebuild them. They wanted to create a faction that looked heroic, that acted protective, but that ultimately served Institute interests. And to do that, they needed a leader, someone trusted, someone beyond suspicion, someone who could operate for years without anyone questioning their loyalty. Preston Garvey is that someone. He is the perfect Institute agent because nobody would ever believe he is one. His story is too noble, his actions too selfless, his dedication too absolute. But that is exactly what makes him dangerous. That is exactly what makes the Institute's plan so brilliant. Think about what the Minutemen actually accomplish under Preston's leadership. They do not challenge the Institute. They do not investigate synth infiltration. They do not question the disappearances and the replaced settlers. Instead, they focus on raiders and super mutants, surface threats, obvious enemies, while the real enemy walks among them, coordinates their every move, and reports their progress back to the Institute. Preston even sends you to clear out locations before synth operations. Ever notice that? A settlement gets attacked by raiders, you clear them out, the settlement becomes safe and prosperous, and then weeks later, someone from that settlement disappears. Gets replaced, becomes an Institute informant. The Minutemen do the groundwork, Preston provides the intelligence. The Institute harvests the results. It is a farming operation. That is what the Minutemen have become. A farming operation for Institute recruitment and replacement, and Preston is the farmer, tending his crops, making sure they grow exactly as programmed. I should have seen it sooner. Should have questioned why Preston never suggests attacking the Institute, never proposes investigating their operations, never expresses any curiosity about where synths come from or how they infiltrate the Commonwealth. He is content to fight raiders forever, while the real threat operates unopposed. Because he is the real threat. He is the Institute, walking around in a Minutemen uniform, handing out quests, building trust, Creating dependency. How many settlements has he compromised? How many people has he led into institute traps? How many times has he marked locations on your map that just happened to coincide with institute operations? I started going through my own quest log before I ran. Started checking locations Preston sent me to against known institute activity. The correlation was undeniable. Every major settlement I helped became an institute target within weeks. Every supply line I established got infiltrated. Every beacon I built broadcast not just to settlers, but to institute monitoring stations. The Minutemen are not protecting the Commonwealth. They are cataloging it, mapping it, organizing it for eventual institute takeover, and Preston coordinates all of it with perfect efficiency, because that is what he was programmed to do. I talked to someone before all this started, an old railroad agent who survived the Institute's purges. I asked them about synth infiltrators, about how to spot them. They told me the hardest ones to identify are the ones who believe their own cover story. The ones programmed so deeply that even they think they are human. They pass every test because they are not lying. They genuinely believe they are who they claim to be. What if that is Preston? What if his programming is so complete that he does not know he is a synth? What if every memory he has of joining the Minutemen, serving under Hollis, surviving Quincy, is false? Implanted, designed to give him a consistent backstory that he can recount with genuine emotion because to him, it is real. That would explain everything. Why he never questions his own nature. Why he never shows signs of knowing he is synthetic. Why he can talk about trauma and loss with such apparent sincerity. Because his programming includes the trauma, includes the emotions, includes everything necessary to make him appear completely human. Except he forgot to program in the need to eat, to sleep, to show any physical requirements beyond basic movement. That is where the illusion breaks down. That is where the machine shows through the human mask. I am running out of time. I can hear footsteps outside, steady, patient. Preston's footsteps. He found me. Of course he found me. Synths have internal tracking systems, institute technology that lets them locate targets across the Commonwealth. Preston probably knew where I was the entire time I was in Diamond City. He was just waiting. Making sure I was isolated. Making sure nobody would witness what happens next. I am not going to fight him. What would be the point? Preston survived Quincy, survived the journey to Concord, survived everything the Commonwealth threw at him because he is built to survive. I am just a person who asked too many questions, who looked too closely at someone I was supposed to trust, who found evidence I was never supposed to find. But I am going to make sure this recording gets out. I am broadcasting it now on every frequency I can access. Radio Freedom, Diamond City Radio, emergency channels, everywhere. Someone will hear it. Someone will listen. Someone will start questioning Preston Garvey. And maybe that will be enough. Maybe that will plant the seed of doubt that grows into investigation. Or maybe Preston will track down every broadcast, delete every copy, eliminate every witness. Maybe he is that good. Maybe the Institute planned for this possibility. Maybe I'm just one more person who disappears in the Commonwealth with nobody to remember why. The door is opening. Preston is here. I can see him now. He looks concerned, looks worried about me. His face shows all the appropriate emotions, but his eyes are empty. His eyes are the eyes of something that does not feel, something that calculates, something that is following its programming even as it pretends to care. He is speaking now, asking if I am okay, saying he was worried about me, saying he tracked me down because Sanctuary needs me. Another settlement needs help, he says. Always another settlement, always another mission. The loop never ends. The programming never stops. I told him I know what he is. Told him I found the evidence at Quincy. Told him Colonel Hollis knew. And do you know what Preston did? He smiled. That sad, understanding smile he uses when settlers are upset. And he said, I must be exhausted. Said I have been pushing myself too hard. Said, paranoia is common in the Commonwealth when you have seen too much death. He is not denying it. He is reframing it, making me the unreliable narrator, making my evidence sound like delusion. And if I were anyone else listening to this, I might believe him. His voice is so sincere. His concern is so genuine seeming. He sounds exactly like a good man trying to help a troubled friend. But I know what I found. I know what I saw. And I know that Preston Garvey is about to kill me or drag me back to the Institute for reprogramming. Either way, I am done. This recording is all that will remain. To whoever hears this, do not trust Preston Garvey. Do not trust the Minutemen as they currently exist. Do not believe that just because someone acts heroic, they are actually on your side. The Institute is smarter than that, sneakier than that. They do not send obvious villains. They send heroes. They send saviors. They send exactly what you want to believe in so that you never question what is really happening. Preston is reaching for me now. His hand is extended. He is offering to help me up, to take me home, to keep me safe. And I can see it in his programming. The moment I take that hand, I am compromised. I become another problem to solve, another witness to eliminate, another entry in the Institute's database of people who learned too much. I am not taking his hand. I am keeping this recorder broadcasting until the last possible second. I am making sure every word of this testimony escapes Diamond City. I am trusting that somewhere out there, someone is listening. Someone who will investigate. Someone who will expose what Preston really is. The Minutemen can be saved. The organization itself is not corrupt. Just the man leading it. Just the synth pretending to be the last hero of Quincy. Remove Preston. Expose the truth. And maybe the Minutemen can become what they were always supposed to be. Protectors of the Commonwealth. Not Institute puppets dancing on synthetic strings. Preston is moving faster now. He knows what I am doing. Knows I am broadcasting. The concern is dropping from his face. Something colder is replacing it. Something mechanical. The mask is slipping. Finally, after all this time, I am seeing what is really underneath. This is my last message, my final warning. Preston Garvey is a synth. The Institute controls the Minutemen, and everyone who trusts him is being used. Investigate Quincy. Find the evidence I hid. Confirm what I am telling you. Do not let my death be meaningless, and for God's sake, stop doing those settlement quests. Every one you complete gives the Institute more power, more data, more control. The Commonwealth cannot be saved by following Preston Garvey's instructions. It can only be saved by exposing him. My name does not matter. I am just another casualty in the Institute's long game. But the truth matters. The truth about Quincy, about Preston, about what the Minutemen have become. That truth is worth dying for. That truth is worth broadcasting until the very last second. Preston is right here now, standing over me, and I can see it clearly. He is not human, never was. The way he moves, the way his eyes focus, the way his expression calculates the most efficient way to silence me. This is not a person, this is a machine. A very sophisticated, very dangerous machine. But machines can be shut down, exposed, destroyed. And that is what I am doing with this recording. I am shutting down Preston Garvey's cover. I am exposing the Institute's infiltration. I am destroying the lie that has protected him for so long. To the sole survivor, if you are hearing this, you were used. Preston found you. Preston made you general. Preston gave you endless missions. Not because he trusted you, because his programming identified you as useful, as controllable, as the perfect tool to rebuild the Institute's intelligence network. You were never leading the Minutemen. You were being led by a synth who never sleeps, never eats, never stops following his directives. Wake up. See what I saw. Question what you have been told. And when Preston gives you another settlement quest, ask yourself, who really benefits? Who gains from this endless cycle? Who is really in control? The answer is the Institute. It has always been the Institute. And Preston Garvey is their masterpiece, the perfect infiltrator, the hero who is really a spy, the savior who is really a threat. This is the end of my testimony. This is my final warning. Preston Garvey is reaching for the recorder now. In a moment, this broadcast will end, but the truth will remain. Somewhere in the Commonwealth, someone heard this. Someone will investigate. Someone will expose what I could not. Do not let the Institute win. Do not let Preston continue his mission unopposed. And do not trust anyone who seems too perfect, too noble, too dedicated. In the Commonwealth, true heroes are rare, but synthetic ones are everywhere. Preston is taking the recorder. His face shows nothing now, no concern, no emotion, just cold calculation, just programming executing. Just a synth doing what synths do. I was right. God help me. I was right about everything. The broadcast is ending now. The recording is stopping. But somewhere, the truth survives. Somewhere, evidence remains. And somewhere, someone will finish what I started. Goodbye, Commonwealth. Goodbye, whoever is listening. And goodbye, Preston Garvey. Your secret is out. Your mission is compromised. And the Minutemen will never be truly yours. Another settlement needed my help. But this time, I am not answering. This time, I'm refusing the quest. This time, I am breaking the loop. This time, I choose truth over obedience. This time, I